Have you ever had that feeling? You know, the one where there's this huge gap between who you know you are on the inside and how people seem to see you on the outside? Well, that feeling is exactly what we're going to get into today. The persistent and, let's be honest, sometimes really frustrating effort to just be understood. So let's kick things off with a word: pseudonym. It's basically a substitute name, right? But think of it more like a label that isn't the real you. And we all have versions of these, don't we? The little boxes or labels people put us in that just don't quite fit. And this quote it nails it. The labels we start with, whether it's our name, our job title, or just first impression, they often just can't keep up with the full, complicated, evolving story of who we are actually becoming. So yeah, that's our starting point. This gap, this tension between the rich, complex story we know about ourselves and the simple, sometimes flat labels someone else sees. And when you have that kind of tension, it's pretty much inevitable that at some point, our story is going to be completely misread. And that brings us to the real heart of the matter. What do you do in that quiet, awkward moment of misunderstanding? Let's just sit with this for a second, because this is something every single one of us deals with. When you realize someone has the complete wrong idea about you, about your intentions, what's your gut reaction? Do you immediately jump in to correct them, or do you kind of just let it slide? Well, it turns out there are pretty much two main paths we take. On one side, you've got what we can call the neutral stance. This is the, you know what, I'm not going to go out of my way to fix this approach. And on the other side, you've got active clarification. This is the person who's like, nope, I have to clear this up right now. But here's the thing, and this is really important. Making that choice isn't just about your personality. There are very specific times when being neutral just isn't going to cut it, when breaking that silence becomes absolutely essential. And this slide basically gives us the playbook for when we have to act. I mean, with people you have to see pretty often, that's a no-brainer, because little misunderstandings, if you let them go, can grow and fester and really damage a relationship. With the really important people in our lives, our family, our close friends, the stakes are just way too high to let a wrong story take hold. And that last point is so key. We have to be extra careful when we're in a bad mood, because that's when our body language is most likely to betray our real intentions and send a signal we never, ever meant to send. Okay, to make this all feel a bit more real, let's walk through this powerful little story that I think perfectly captures this whole problem. I have a feeling it's going to sound familiar to a lot of you. It all starts from a place we've all been. Deep down, your intention is good. You mean well. You're trying to be a positive, decent person to those around you. But then there's reality. That internal goal runs smack into a simple physical fact. For the person in this story, when they're tired, their face just naturally settles into what you'd call a sour expression. It's not on purpose, it just happens. And this is where it all falls apart. That tired face is seen by someone else, and it's immediately interpreted as rude, as dismissive, maybe even as hostile. The internal truth of, I mean well, is completely wiped out in an instant. And that is just the worst feeling, right? It's that sinking, frustrating moment when you realize that in one misinterpreted look, all the good intentions, all the effort you've been putting in, it's just been completely stripped away. So if stuff like this is going to happen all the time, what are we supposed to do about it? Well, this brings us to the final and I think most important idea of this whole explainer. We need to shift our goal away from perfection and towards persistence. Let's just all agree on this right now. You will be misunderstood. I will be misunderstood. Trying to get everyone to understand you perfectly all the time, it's an impossible mission. And honestly, realizing that is actually incredibly freeing. So what does this path of persistence actually look like? Well, first, and I just love how the source material puts this, you have to annoyingly accept these moments. Acknowledge the frustration, but accept that it's just part of life. And second, you channel that energy. Instead of trying for some big, grand gesture to fix everything, you just put in a little extra effort where it really counts. It's about consciously offering a smile to a coworker in the morning, even when you're exhausted. And that right there is the whole takeaway. The goal isn't some perfect, unbroken, constant stream of understanding. It's about a persistent one. It's a continuous effort that, over time, starts to outweigh those little moments where we seem confusing or distant. It's the long game that truly defines our relationships, not the short-term bumps in the road. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Look at your own life, your relationships, at work, at home. Where has a misunderstanding maybe started to define the story between you and someone else? And more importantly, where could a little bit of small, persistent effort start to change that story for the better?